Grand Rising. Great seeing everyone. Gonna spend a little time with the family this evening talking about the state of society. As you can see, the other nations do not want to deal with reality. There's a whole other reality now that is present in the world. The people of the Most High have awakened. The Most High has awakened His people. And all the other people in the world are fighting to just ignore it. All of a sudden, Hamites have not been even a thought. They have not really pushed the Hamites, but the Hamites are now pushed out into the forefront by the Edomites and the other nations. How so, you say? All of a sudden, Hamites have never wanted to be associated with us as a people. Hamites, we were the ones that were pushing. Our so-called leaders were the ones pushing African American, but the Hamites were never about talking about how we were the same people, how we were brothers and sisters. They never talked about how, hey, we're your people, come back over here. We can do things, we can work things together. We're sorry for what we did to you, but you're still our family. We want to make amends, we want to make things right. We got all this land, we got all these resources. Let's come back and let's work together. That has never been a point with Ham until now. Now you know that the other nations have pushed Ham out here to be like, all us black people are fighting for equal rights. All of us black people, we're going into slavery together. All of us black people, we're doing all these things. We're going through all these things together. And we know that there's nothing further from the truth. All of a sudden now in 2025, they're pushing Ham, and Ham is out here talking about us black people fighting for rights. Pretty much they're trying to say that they were out here with Malcolm X, that they are Malcolm X too. They are Martin Luther King, and they're Rosa Parks too. You see, that shows you the desperation of the other nations. They so want to keep us boxed in to whatever lie or whatever identity that they have given us. And now that we're not accepting that identity anymore, we're not accepting being African American. We are not accepting our history being predominantly about slavery. And that before slavery, we didn't know anything. We're not accepting you guys telling us that we were all brought over on slave ships and that none of us was here. Those are all lies that we are not accepting anymore, and it is bringing your society down. Now on TikTok, this brother had a video, and it made so much sense. It says that the two groups of people that refuse to do DNA are actually going to be people that have stolen our identity. They've stolen our lands and they've stolen our identity. Who are the two groups of people that refuse to take DNA tests? Ish over there in the so-called Middle East, and Native Americans over here. They refuse to use DNA as any kind of a marker to identify who they are. Now, wouldn't it be it's pretty amazing that the two groups of people that have really done the most with assuming our identity are the two groups of people that refuse to take a DNA test. Ish, they go out here and they try to be the Southern Kingdom. They try to actually take the part or the place of the Southern Kingdom. And you got the natives who have been assuming the identity of the Northern Kingdom. But those are the two main groups that refuse to use DNA. Where they talk about how we need to use DNA to prove who we are. When the people see, and they want to be able to do that so that they can say like, hey, you guys are this, you guys are that. They still want to be in a position to dictate who we think we are. And they've lost that ability. They've lost that right, and they've lost that power. Now, something was another book that's I've shown you this book before, but it's so true to what you're seeing today. See, this is why, like, they've hidden these books to hide how prophecy is really playing out. Let's take a look real quick. Transcendental Magic. Transcendental Magic is Doctrine and Ritual by Eliphas Levi. Now, the thing is with this book is they try to make it seem like it's evil because really it's exposing exactly all the things you're seeing today. Okay, so watch. Just one page. What was actually the secret and potent association with imperial church and state, and was thus destroyed, unheard. And remember this, the church is always destroying information, always destroying knowledge. Judge nothing lightly. They are guilty of a great crime. They have exposed to profane eyes the sanctuary of antique initiation. They have gathered again, they have gathered again and have shared the fruits of the tree of knowledge, so that they might become masters of the world. Now, there are a certain group of people who will be masters, hiding information so they can try to act like they're the masters of the world. But we know that they are not. And it says the judgment pronounced against them is higher and far older than the tribunal of pope or king. So see, the actual curses were around way before the popes and the kings. Okay? So, like I said, our prophets prophesied against these other nations. Our prophets told what was going to happen to these other nations when they touched the apple of the eye of the Most High. So again, they have gathered again and have shared the fruits of the tree of knowledge, so that they might become masters of the world. The judgment pronounced against them is higher and far older than the tribunal of pope or king. On the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die, said the Most High himself, as you read in the book of Genesis. What then is taking place in the world, and why do priests and potentates tremble? What secret power threatens tiaras and crowns? You see, as you can tell, like if you look, the whole world right now is in fear. What are they in fear of? They have the best militaries, they're the strongest, they have the most money, they have the most status. All these other nations, all these different groups of people, Psalms 83, you guys have everything in your favor, supposedly. So again, what secret power threatens tiaras and crowns? A few Bedlamites are roaming from land to land, concealing, as they say, the philosophical stone under their ragged vesture. No, we can conceal many things under our skin, under the body that you see. Everyone has a body. Everybody has these bodies that have been formed here. I said, but we all have spirits, and we all have souls with different souls. Many have inanimate souls that have not been, pretty much turned on. All right. So if you take a look here at number one, I'm watching. I'm going to tell you what these people have been fearing so much, and now they see this fear has turned into a reality. So if you take a look down here, where it's first highlighted under number one, it says the very name and attributes of Masonry have reference to the rebuilding of the temple. So again, the very name and attributes of Masonry have reference to the rebuilding of the temple, that universal dream of Kabbalism. And here Levi quotes positively, a dictum referred to an edifice realizable immediately. All right, for he builds it in his heart. He goes on to suggest that the temple was therefore a social utopia and a symbol of perfect government, right? Founded on the democratic hierarchy of merit and intelligence. Okay? Let me continue. The Templars initiated in the East into this doctrine very veritable and terrible conspirators whom popes and kings could not do otherwise than exterminate for the security of their own existence. And as regards to building in the heart, see the Masonic ritual. Okay? So what it's actually talking about right here is, let's go back up here. It says, the very name and attributes of Masonry have reference to the building of a temple, that universal dream of Kabbalism. And here Levi quotes appositely a dictum referred to a master. There is no true Israelite for whom the temple is not an edifice realizable immediately, for he who builds it in his heart. He goes on to suggest that the temple was therefore a social utopia and a symbol of perfect government found on the democratic hierarchy of merit and intelligence. So again, there is no true Israelite for whom the temple is not an edifice realizable immediately. Now that would be the chosen nation within a nation. Right now it's not talking about everyone. It's talking about a true Israelite for whom the temple is not an edifice realizable immediately. The true people are going to be able to realize it immediately. And that's why these other nations are fearful, because they see certain people have brought this temple back, have rebuilt this temple spiritually. And in their spiritual understanding, they wipe out all of the lies that these other nations have set up. They wipe out all the lies of Psalms 83. So see, since we're going out here and we've been challenging all these other nations, as well as the blasters, to prove us wrong, and they're not able to, that there proves that they're right there. There is no true Israelite for whom the temple is not an edifice realizable immediately. So they can see that this temple has already been rebuilt, because they cannot break down, cannot come against this truth. So that just shows you where we are right now. So this is why, no matter where you walk around in the world right now, these other people are terrified of you, terrified of us, because they see now that all of the things that they've done to destroy us as a people has not worked anymore. The things they hope for in the future cannot continue, because now the Israelites have awakened. Take a look at what happened with Trump these last few days. So you're trying to tell me, Trump, that you started setting up tariffs on Thursday, and you could not go a week into these tariffs, and all of a sudden you're now pausing them 90 days except for one country. You're really saying that you are that weak that you can't even follow through with your promise for a week before you're already backtracking. You're already backtracking on all the other countries. You said you're gonna stick to it. You're gonna do this. You're gonna do that. And within a week, you've already caved on 99% of the tariffs that you said you were gonna do, because you have no power. This country is nothing but a paper tiger, as well as the other countries. The other Psalms 83, they're nothing but paper tigers. They're not following through with anything that they say. Now, remember, he sat here and made all these promises and all these threats to all these other countries. I'm going to stick to this to the end. I'm going to stick through this to the end. And within, again, a week, he's already backtracked on 99% of the countries he said he was going to tariff. He's only going to do it with one. He's only going to continue the tariffs with China. This shows you how absolutely weak the American situation is, as well as Psalms 83. I was listening to Sister Lisa's video talking about the cyber trucks. Now, Tesla is not taking back and trade their own cars. When have you ever heard of a company not even like taking back their own cars as trade-ins? That just shows you how far down this country has fallen. Because certain things that you would just expect to be able to continue, hey man, if I buy this car, if I don't like it, or if I want to do something and take it back, they'll take their own things. But it shows you how this country does not stand behind its own products anymore. It does not stand behind its own people anymore, because many of the promises that were made to the people of this country are now being, turn their backs on. Talking about going to Social Security, doing stuff like that. But see, the thing is that you've got $38 trillion of debt, How is it possible for you to continue, with the promises that you made? And the thing is, you didn't make the promise. You made promises to people, but you worked to keep us out of it. You work to keep us. You work to keep. You work to keep us out of it, and now the Most High. Okay, now close it. Close it. Okay, you worked so hard to keep our people out of all of the promises that you made. Black people can't get, loans. They couldn't get FHA loans. They couldn't get VA loans. They couldn't unionize. They couldn't do any of these things, right? And so you kept all those promises for yourself, but now the Most High is taking those promises away from you now. We couldn't get Social Security. We couldn't go to certain colleges. We couldn't buy properties. We couldn't, build up generational wealth. But you guys did that for each other, right? But now the Most High is going to take those things away from you. That's why the whole thing with the Tesla thing is like, hey, you buy a vehicle thinking that they're going to, take their own vehicles back because they have, they definitely trust the stuff that they've done. And they're going to be there to take, the cars back, and now they're not even taking their own cars back anymore. They're not going to take the cyber trucks, $100,000 for a vehicle that you now can't even trade in it's where it was built. That just shows you like where we are at this time. They keep on talking about World War III. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. And as you can see, there's no follow through with anything. And why is that? Because again, you saw right here, there is no true Israelite for whom the temple is not an edifice realizable immediately, for he rebuilds it in his heart. He goes on to suggest that the temple was therefore a social utopia and a symbol of perfect government. Now when you go back up here, when you were reading up here, it says, what then is taking place in the world? And why do priests and potentates tremble? Now you can see why they tremble, because that is actually what is playing out right now. Priests and potentates, priests and kings are trembling right now. Priests, we come after your priests and your pastors. How many people actually come back and actually try to prove what we're saying wrong? None of them. How many of your kings try to prove your things wrong? None of them. Because again, what is this? And you go to the next one. What secret power threatens tiaras and crowns? That secret power is the rebuilding of the temple spiritually of the Israelites. And they see it happening now. When they cannot answer any of the things we bring out about Revelation 6 and 8, about the fourth part, about showing who actually has authority over the scriptures. 2nd Ezra 14. When you got people who cannot come against any of this information, that proves that behind closed doors, that this is that secret power that threatens tiaras and crowns that they've been terrified of. That secret power, again, is the raising up of the Israelites. And that is where we are right now. So this again just shows you, I wanted to show you again like why the other nations are refusing to engage with us. They're refusing to engage because they are terrified. If you're not terrified of the Israelites, the true people, then why don't you actually prove anything wrong? That goes for any of you. Constantine Christians, you Hebrew Israelite Catholics, all of you. None of you are stepping up because you're all terrified of what you're seeing. Much love, family. Shalom.